Hello and welcome. This video is going to be that of cryptocurrency, followed that about fantasy sports. I'm going to show you how I am going to master new games. And I thought about it last night, and it's going to be a piece of cake. I'm also going to talk about Bitcoin. And the order will be Bitcoin first and then fantasy sports. I've done really, really well in both hockey and baseball. To the point where let me just present this a bit. This is the chart for how well that I have done, or my return. This is like 2014, like this is years, going down to the low of like minus 200 and change. And then since I figured out how to win hockey and then at that same time baseball, this is what my bankroll's been doing. So it's been doing well. And any time when you're making bets, it's risk reward management. Risk rewards job number one. That's why we say that in this intro of these videos. It's always your own risk reward, yada yada. But you also have to know how to win. How do you become an advantage player, as they say, for things like that in hockey? And I'm going to explain how you could become an advantage player in really pretty much any sport, but three in particular that I don't know how to play, but it won't be long before I'm an expert at it, making a lot of currencies on it, and then turning that into things like items and food, which is items, gold, silver, crypto. Well, not really cryptos, but because I already got enough. But within Bitcoin, weekly chart, we can see that this is mainly a lot of the sideways action, these lower highs. Well, we managed to reach this previous one after a lower low, so that's a pretty decent move and really pierced below. Next test is this previous high at 13, which to me it looks as if I think it's got a good chance of moving up towards. On the daily time frame, it does have to manage to get back above the 18 average of highs, however. And on the single hour, it's just been this long correction. We can see multiple hits at this 93.38. If this level gives in, I'd be looking for a pierce below 89.19. And there's been one, I can almost say two. Long 3-1 here, just a big congestion in here. More recently, again at 5 o'clock this morning, support. And the 18 average of rising, neutral, declining, sideways, so break above this resistance. I mean, that's his weak resistance up here around high 9,000, so close to 10. Yeah, maybe it stays there, congests for a bit. Maybe it pulls back a couple hundred or nothing much more, 200-300. And maybe it doesn't even find resistance. And that's why I think that our break above this, we'd be looking at about near 13,000 as the next significant break above resistance. But yeah, breaking above here, previous high, 99, pretty much 10,000. As its level. So I came up with an interesting idea. This is like so easy to figure out how to win games like golf and CSGO, LOL standing for League of Legends. I have no idea how to pick players and who's hot and who's us. I don't follow the game. I'm not going to watch it. LOL, CSGO. I understand that could be a meta game, but I really don't know what that would be yet. So, what I like about this is you can have stuff like in golf, where maybe you tee off at whatever, 12. And then 2 hours later, these guys go. An hour later, these guys go. 3 hours later, whatever. Every time goes in flocks. So in fantasy, you can have sports at 12 o'clock where you can bet on all these golfers in fantasy. And then at 2 o'clock or 2:30, if you want to play again, there's a late game with only the players that play late. Wow, interesting. And then stuff like League of Legends, CSGO, you could have like a 6-8 game slate. And then later on, there's a 4-game slate of just the last 4 games, or a 3-game or 2-game slate. Well, idea pops in my head. First, step one, find out who to follow. Who is kicking ass like I am in other games? And that's not that hard to find out. Step number 2, try and figure out their metagame. In golf, it's very hard to figure out their metagame by looking at it. I don't know how you do it. I think I could find out the metagame based CSGO based on when you organize things based on teams and stuff like that. And then number 3, find their late game plays and fades. Late game gem plays and fades. So how would you go about doing it? First, how would you find who to follow? Well, for example, say you were trying to do that in baseball. You've been doing it the last few days. Maybe you got the same sort of spreadsheet I might have. And what this is every single dollar game in the baseball KBO. And what I do is I'll copy and paste them in. I'll have the username. My name is AG47 in here. what place you finish in, and how many people were in the game. And then I'll divide this number by this number to figure how well you did. And what I can do, because I have this data, I can now count how many times Dookie Pond is in the game. And I don't even know how statistics will be, so I can even just figure this out. And I can find the stats on everybody, because I've made a little bit of a spreadsheet in here. Where for me, I have a score of 162.4, a very good score. 133 games played. And that's per 100 games score, just to calculate, because I got 216 net games in here. I can put somebody's name in here, like that name I copied, Ducky Pond, 54 games. This player's got a positive score as well. And not as many games, 107 points. I calculate how often they finish in the top 0.2%, which I actually don't calculate that one anymore. I've realized it's not enough games, so I'm calculating just these three. So this will always be 0 no matter what. So how often you finish in the top 1%, which is very good caches. Top 5%, which is starting to get away from the min cache barely. And top 20%, which is the min cache area. And give it a point structure. So here's all the good players, or all the players that played the most. And I know the center is not so good. So Roll Tide, for life, 200 points almost. I got 162. Des 1268 with 82. Day Sun 96. Falcor, I'm minus 36, but I could figure out that this player could be a threat. Just because of the simple fact of how I know they're constructing their lineups, and for the hit or miss structure, it's just maybe you've been bad at picking teams. But yeah, just figure who's winning based on things like that. So therefore, once I do the same sort of thing, what I would do is I would play these games, find the best games I think I would find them the best players in, usually the ones where you play the maximum lineups. So in CSGO, I can see there's 50 cent, 150 max lineups. I'm going to be playing that game. Play about 5, 6, 7, 8 times, 9 games, give myself a good sample size of games. And then I'll calculate how often people play, which, to show you an idea on how to do something like that, I can go back to the spreadsheet and I can just say, grab a whole bunch of these, just a bunch of random ones, just a period of them, and that's enough. And maybe go to a new spreadsheet, and what I could do, let me just set it up for sizing. Okay. I can paste the results in. Okay. So how do I find out how often each person's in? Well, I kind of need to sort the names. That might be the first easy one to do it. So I can just go like that, maybe. And in that such, there's a sort feature, and I could just sort it here. And well, there we go. I can see, well, this person's in 3 times, Hoffman, but how could I calculate how often each one's in? And I could do something like this. Just for fun, I'll just write in this number and that. And I could write something like this. Equals F. This name does not equal this next one coming. Then, well, give me this person's name. If not, give me nothing. So, of course, the next one isn't, so it would do it. And in here, I can say, well, if this is a new name than the last time, so equals if this number here is, say, not equal to again, which is what this symbol means, not equal to this, then give me a new count. Give me 1. But if it's the same, add 1 to it. So I'll take this number plus 1. And I can just even copy and paste it the rest of the way down. We're going to see Hoffman's going to end at, there's going to be no blanks, and we'll say Hoffman for 3. Right there, here's Hoffman for 3. And I can just paste this all the way down to the very end. And I just took a row of 1,000. And then I can copy this back again. Just going to highlight everything. And I'll paste it again. I'll just do paste special this time. And this time I'm going to sort it by column F. There we go. So now I got them all, and I got all these numbers in here. And all of them are sorted by name in chronological order. And all the 1s and 2s. And I do have a little like fish shark ideology, and all these ones and twos are pretty much, and lower numbers are pretty much your fish. So I can sort this again, and I can sort this by column G, or the amount. So I go column G, I'll go descending. So I could have seen here that, well, these guys played the most. So these are the, and of course, when I get larger data sizes, I would have, well, more information toward it. That's why I need to have like I need to play like 7, 8, 9, 10 games. So I get more people, plus the variance for the player. Because sometimes they'll just get very lucky. Sometimes I want to see this over a large amount of games and help me out through the filter this way. And then what I noticed in here with the entire sample is that the players that finished at that played the absolute most amount of games were winning, myself included, and the other ones that I showed. And so the list of players that I showed were the ones that played the most. And then the ones that played in the medium amount, they were barely around an average player, and the ones below that were losing. I'll show you another little example of something that I got too. They have free tournaments all the time in there, football, basketball. Well, this is all of the free tournaments that I played. So I have them in a spreadsheet, and I'm trying an interesting strategy that is, okay, let's just see how often I can at least finish in the top of these, because I want to see if I can finish in the top 1%, 5%, 20%, and there's over 200 sample sizes of data in here. So there's that's 220 or so. So what I can do is I can put in how often I finish, say, in the top 1%. I've only done it 1 time, which means, let me just put this in a nicer look. So 0.45% of the time I have finished in the top 1%, which is worse than average. 1% the average person will do. And when I've been playing in the other game, baseball and hockey, I've been doing this like, well, 2% of the time I can finish in the top 1%. If I go, say, top 3%, I have finished in the top 3% 4 times, worse than what the law of average states. Top 5%, exactly the amount of times I'm supposed to, 11. Top 10%, actually that's top 1. Top 10, I've done it 26 times, or 11.8%, 0.2% of the time. So I've done that more than average, actually. Okay, let's do, like, say, 0.14. I've done that 20%. Now that's significantly more than the law of average. So what I'm noticing is I'm finishing a lot here. Not the very, very top, but rather that in that middle tier. So I have to figure out my strategy. Is this a case of a bad luck variance that I haven't, that my particular strategy is not focused to that upper tier? If so, I would realize that this strategy doesn't work. It's top 17%, 23%. The big one is like 20, 22%, because that's generally like 22% of the field will cash. Well, I'd be cashing 31% of the time with my lineups. And that's the theory that I've been having, in that if I can hit like 30, near 30 in these like low 20 numbers, then I could possibly just play this in the regular season and just spam these style lineups into it and potentially come out profitable. And then another one I look at is top 50%. So I've done that 53% of the time, top 75%. I've done 80. I even looked at the like 90. It's just try, can you beat the law of average is a way of looking at it. Now, how I made this spreadsheet was relatively simple. Again, I'm going to take, I took my, this was, I filtered into the results. This is what I won, just to see I haven't won too much free stuff. This is the place that I finished at, which in this case was 10,300. These are the amount of field people in it. And I just take this number and divide it by that. So that's 0.18. So therefore, then this is easy math in the sense that I already asked for the outcome here. So I'm asking the question, is this number less than or equal to this number here? If it is, give me a 1. If not, give me a 0. So this number is just whatever this is. This is the sum of all of these numbers. And then your percentage is, because I've played 220 different lineups, is equal to this number divided by 220. So things like that, and the different things like this, I think, can help you become an advantage player. And in earlier doing this, I actually did this, and this is where I figured, okay, 75, I just copied and pasted this, possibly to do graph purposes, and this is where I noticed in here where, like, okay, 14% of the, like, the top 14% I was doing 20, okay, good, 12, 17, okay, good, and then I seen this, I was like, ooh, baby, something's happening around here. So yeah, I don't know why this is the case. So what I might have to do is, okay, we'll do different spreadsheets. How do the top, oh my goodness, good idea. Go through the spreadsheets and try to focus on the top 1%, top 2%, 3%. What kind of combinations do they got? Stuff like that. And in some, that's just the general strategy that I'd like to use. And the way I look at it is, if there are people out there that seem to know their golfers very, very well and are able to put out good lineups and are making profits, then they're going to be easy to find. And as I look at it with golf, say there's a day where there's, say, 50 golfers in a day. And yet the final slate is of the last 20 or so. So now when I look at his 50 game lineup, so I can, okay, I figured, okay, it's John Smith 50 or whatever that I'm going to follow. So it's the start of the day, say 10 o'clock and 12 o'clock. So I'll download 10 o'clock, look at all the John Smith lineups, because that's what fantasy is. It's a poker game type thing. And once the game starts, your hands face up. I mean, you can't see the hand before the cutoff and all that, but you can then at least analyze at any point from that level what they're doing. But basically what I could end up doing at 10 o'clock is I could filter and count how many of the players that played during these 20 game set that player has played in the 50. And then I can, that stage there, okay, I can see, oh, he's playing this person very aggressive. They're not playing this player much at all. Maybe he or she knows something about that. And to me, that's just, I think, a decent strategy. And then with stuff like video games, the way it works out is there's like few players per team. So I think you have to put players together in different formats. So I wanted to see the type of stuff like, well, they usually have like they have to have a captain in that so as to get more points. How do they usually allocate that? How do they put their small dollar cost towards, and get an idea? And even in golf, like a meta game, like what kind of strategies with the style in which that they play the golfers. Because I have a decent idea in golf as it is anyway. But to find out who's good, and that's what I'm looking at last weekend with golf. A few days ago, I'm thinking, I mean, this could be a video game on like the Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo. Just give me random names I've never heard of, and it's going to be both the same. I'm just going to pick names on the statistics I see on the screen and such. But if I were to have an idea on them, I think it would be pretty good. Anyway, thank you for tuning in. Have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.